Hello and welcome back to my channel. So glad to have you here. So today I am really excited to talk to you about something that's very close to my heart, something that I even went as far as to start an initiative kind of supporting this and being something that could be just a platform for people like me. And I'm really hopeful that this will make a difference in someone's life in some way. So let's get into the video. All right, guys. So today I'm going to be talking about something that happened to me a while ago. So it was back in 2010, and I was actually right at that part of your life where you're about to go to college. And so I, was a great student in high school. I was in a pretty good position, grades wise, extracurricular activities wise. I ran cross country and track all throughout high school. I was in chorus, of course. And so, I had it going on that side of things. I was ready to go to college. And so I had applied to a bunch of schools and I had gotten audition. Like I hadn't gotten the opportunity to audition because I decided that I wanted to go to school to be a music composer, which is basically just someone who writes music. I think that word can be very intimidating sometimes, composer, but really it's just a person who writes music. You may not just write music like a songwriter does, where you're writing at just a piano and just writing vocals, but you're writing music for many different instruments at times. Think movie scores, think New York Philharmonic. That's basically what a composer does. They give musicians those instructions to play the music that they have created in their head and put on paper. That's basically it. So I decided that I wanted to do that. It was fascinating to me. I had grown up writing songs. I wrote my first song when I was 5 years old and I've written so many songs since. Check out my single Earth Sun on all of your streaming platforms. Run away with me. Yeah, so I've been writing songs forever. And at this point I was like, well, I want to take it to another level. I want to be able to orchestrate music. Which orchestrate just basically means you know how to write for these different instruments and make them sound good in a certain way together. So I had applied to a bunch of schools and it was audition season. This was right around December time, January. So I remember this audition was in December and I go to the audition at this school and I get to my audition for the composition program. I was also auditioning for voice as well because I ended up singing and learning how to sing opera at this time in my life, and I wanted to pursue that as well for my instrument while I was in school, because your voice is an instrument. And so I basically went to the audition, bright-eyed, hopeful. This was one of my top schools. It wasn't the school I really wanted to get in, but it was a good third option. So I walk into my audition and it's with this man, and he's asking me all these questions about my piece, which I had written, and it was called Free Emotion. I will I will say it was definitely a first for me. It was my first composition that I had written at the time, but I thought it was amazing. I mean, I had let my mom listen to it. I just thought it had all this emotion in it, which is why I called it Free Emotion. And he's looking at it on his computer screen and he's like, "Why did you put that note there?" And I was like,
"Because it sounded good."
And he's like, "Well, what made you do this?" And I was just answering all these questions that were definitely making me feel like something was off or something. And I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with my music?" And he looks at me and says, I'm going to be honest with you. You have about the same chance of being a music composer as you do at being an NFL football player. So I'm quiet, and of course I was raised to be respectful to my elders, and so I said thank you so much for that advice, and that was pretty much the end of my interview for the composition department at that school. So that was that wasn't a great day, but I remember getting into the car. My mom was there to drive me. My mom and dad, I think, came with me. Got in my car and they were like, "How did it go?" And I'm like, "It didn't go that great. This probably just isn't the school for me." So of course I go throughout my audition season and I end up getting into several of the schools that I wanted to go to and chose to go to East Carolina University. They actually got back to me super quick, very quickly with my acceptance letter and everything. So I was ecstatic. I was so excited. And, even though something didn't go well for me with this particular school, that was something I still kind of carried with me. It was still a feeling of kind of like shame. And, there were in my mind, I still felt like, okay, that's somebody I feel like I have to almost prove wrong. Um, and it wasn't something I thought about often, but it was something that just was kind of subconsciously there. So fall comes around and I'm starting my semester at East Carolina University, and that kind of feeling that I felt in that room with that professor for all of 10 minutes flooded me at the beginning of my career as a student at East Carolina University. And it was because I had these ideas that it was going to be so easy once I got in. Like, once you get into school, you're going to get in and you're going to be able to grow and learn. And I definitely did, but it was a completely different experience than I was expecting. I kind of thought it was going to be like Glee or something. I was watching that show a lot in high school, and I just thought it was going to be like singing and writing and left and right, and just everything just comes together. And that wasn't always the case. Actually, in my first semester, I felt like I had imposter syndrome or something like that. I felt like I didn't belong. I was one of the only Black students at the school. I was actually one of two women in my class to graduate when I ended up graduating with my composition degree. So it was definitely not what I was hoping for. I didn't think that the diversity would be so lacking, and that did make me feel sometimes like I didn't belong. So that was something I definitely had to overcome. And it was like in the back of my mind, especially my freshman year, in the back of my mind, I just heard like, you have the same chance of being a composer as an NFL football player. That was something that stuck with me a little bit. But, it was something I really had to decide, even though that person said that to me, and even though sometimes I'm walking these halls and I feel that same energy from other people throughout the program, I had the feeling sometimes of, you don't belong here. And I can go into detail on that in another video, because that is a completely different story about like just feeling like sometimes people didn't believe in me, even in my own program, whether it was colleagues or whether there were things that I was auditioning for throughout school. Sometimes I felt like, oh, I'm not good enough, and I really had to let go of that. Even being an opera singer, so that was something that I didn't have to take as seriously as I probably did. Most people that were composers, they didn't all take their instruments so seriously. They were kind of just going through the motions. But I was like, no, if I have to go to this voice lesson every week for an hour every semester that I'm a student, I'm going to get something out of it. And I did, because I won talent at Miss New York and then went on to win Miss America with that same talent, which was an opera song that I had learned for my senior recital when I was in school. So that definitely came around full circle. So definitely don't take things for granted in your life that you feel like are things you kind of just have to do. Look at the beauty of it, and don't let that time that you're putting into something go to waste. That's just a pro tip. So I definitely had moments all throughout my education where I felt like, well, why are they getting the opportunity and I'm not? Or why is she getting the opportunity or he getting the opportunity and I'm not? And I think it's really just about trusting your journey and believing in not only yourself, but your God-given ability to do something. If you feel like you were put on this earth to do something, I don't care if it's songwriting, I don't care if it's being a music composer, I don't care if it's being a doctor, I don't care if it's being the next big chef or something. It doesn't matter. If you feel like you have what it takes, go for it. And you're the only one that can tell yourself that. It doesn't matter how many people are telling you can do something. It doesn't matter how many people are telling you can't do something. If you know that you can do it, and you know that if you put in the work, if you go the extra mile, if you practice that extra hour, you look at that interview that inspires you just one more time, or you read that book that reminded you why you wanted to do what you do in the first place just one more time, you can do it. And that's certainly what I did, because my history as Miss America, I was able to work with organizations that recognize me as a composer, and that's what I'll be continuing to do. So really just, I just wanted to make this video to let you all know that like there are going to be struggles. There are going to be times when someone tells you that you can't do something, when someone doesn't believe in you, especially when it's someone you thought was supposed to be in your corner. Up until this point in my career, I had discouragement from people that were supposed to be those mentor figures, those teacher figures. But I kind of thought that in college I was going to have this fresh start, and that's not always the case. But I have to say, I am so grateful that I wasn't always kind of coddled or babied or told that I was so good, because I think that just made me work extra hard, and it's made me appreciate every single thing that I've worked for. I actually ended up writing an opera for my senior recital at East Carolina University, and it ended up being a full house, like completely not an empty seat in the room. It was definitely a process, and it was something I even wanted to give up on at some points. But that's something that I'm so grateful that I did. And as I continue to move forward in my career as a composer, I can look back when times get tough and I'm working on a piece of music and I'm like, oh, this just isn't coming together. I can look back on that moment and say, wow, I did that. And that allows me to know that I can move forward. And I needed moments like that when I was studying to get my master's degree in music composition, and it was extremely helpful. And I will need those moments going forward. I need those moments right now. And I think what's helped me is knowing that it's a learning process. It's about growth, and just continuing to get better at what you do, and hopefully inspiring someone else along the way, because I know that there are certainly people, maybe that I don't know personally, but there are certainly people that I can look at their stories, I can watch interviews by them, listen to them talk, and I can say, wow, like they went through that and they didn't let that stop them or hinder them from moving forward. And I hope that maybe I'm speaking to someone that needs to hear that right now. For me, it was Leontine Price. You know, she worked her butt off to be recognized as an opera singer, as one of the top opera singers in this world. So that's something I did an interview with that a while ago with Now This News, but I wanted to just talk about that story in more detail and talk about how it affected me moving forward. Because of course, you see the girl that went on to win Miss America. You see the girl who has hosted the New York Philharmonic, who has worked with the Dallas Symphony, who continues to compose to this day. But no, you can't let one no stop you. If I let one no stop me, then I wouldn't have won Miss America, because I had lost Miss North Carolina twice, then moved to New York, had no intention of competing again. The opportunity presented itself, and I said yes. I tried that one more time. So like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications so you don't miss future videos, because I am coming to you with more content about all things music, pageants even. We'll do a little of that, and definitely just some day-to-day things as well, and some advice that I can generally give, being that I feel like I am at a point where I can do that. I'm so excited to continue this journey with you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.